In section 13, Tennyson is still struggling to find an appropriate metaphor to express his grief, something that conveys just how heartbroken he is. He compares his relationship with Hallum like a widower who wakes up in the morning or in the night and reaches out and touches his beloved in bed and sees that she's dead. Um, there's this beautiful phrase: "These tears which weep a loss forever new." This sense that every day the grief and the loss are fresh and new and just as raw as ever. He refers to Hallum as the comrade of my choice. And then this phrase, "a spirit, not a breathing voice." To me, that says this isn't just, Hallum was more than just a voice saying nice things. He was a human, he was a real spirit, and I had a spirit to spirit connection with him that meant more than any description he's been able to come up with. This also seems like an appropriate time to touch on a subject that anyone who reads In Memoriam is going to think about and wonder about, and that's the nature of the relationship between Tennyson and Hallum. I'll say more about this in section 74, but let's just touch on it today. The tenderness of the love poetry that Tennyson writes for Hallum raises the question about, was there sex involved? Was this a homosexual relationship? We don't have any evidence that it was, and in fact, Tennyson kind of pushed back some of his early critics, raised questions about the appropriateness of the relationship, and Tennyson pushed back on that idea that there was anything inappropriate happening. I would also note that in the past, for probably most of human history, until the last 100 years, 150 years, men had very close, very intimate relationships that were non-sexual. There was nothing unusual about that. It's only in the Western part of the world here for the last, many decades, several decades, that we kind of raise an eyebrow at something like that. And the other point I would make is that it's very hard to prove a negative, meaning it's hard to prove that something is not, for example, if I claim that there is a cat in the attic, it's easy. If you go up there and you look around, you see the cat, or you see evidence of the cat, it's very easy to prove there's a cat in the attic. It's much harder to prove if I say there is no cat in the attic, because you can search 99% of the attic. You can lift everything and turn everything over, but if there's still even 1% that's been unsearched, you have not proven that there is no cat. So, same thing for a relationship like this. It's easy if you find evidence for it. Oh yeah, there was that kind of relationship. But to prove that there was no sexual relationship, you have to find everything. And until you have found everything, there's always the possibility that there's something unfound, something that was just unspoken or unwritten. So it's hard to prove a negative. And then lastly, I don't want the question of this relationship, to overshadow the really important things that are going on in this poem. So, yes, this can be a big area of discussion and um, debate. I've read some of the debates online about whether or not Tennyson or Hallum were homosexual, or whether or not this is erasure of homosexuals. Um, to me, that's all secondary, and I don't want that issue to overshadow the really beautiful, powerful teachings in this poem. So I will have more to say when we get to section 74, but for now, that's enough. Let's read section 13. Tears of the widower when he sees a late lost form that sleep reveals, and moves his doubtful arms and feels her places empty fall like these, which weep a loss for ever new, a void where heart on heart reposed, and where warm hands have pressed and closed, silence, till I be silent too, which weep the comrade of my choice, an awful thought, a life removed, the human-hearted man I loved, a spirit, not a breathing voice. Come, time, and teach me many years. I do not suffer in a dream, for now so strange do these things seem, mine eyes have leisure for their tears. My fancies time to rise on wing, and glance about the approaching sails, as though they brought but merchant bales, and not the burthen that they bring.